How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Chav Gimel, Daf 23, the second to last Daf of Masechta Makos. Friends, Givaldig. So today, what can I tell you about today? We're getting into some of the details about Makos and how it goes down. A bit of Agadata, and this will get us up to the final daf of Masechta Makos. Here we go. Okay, we're starting daf Chav Beis Amud Beis at the Mishnah. It's about 15 lines or so from the bottom of Chav Beis Amud Beis. Says the Mishnah, Keitzad Malkin Eisei, how do we hit him? Kofei Shtei Yadav Al HaOmud. So there's some kind of vertical beam or something. And we, I guess, tie his two hands to the beam. I think kofes is to tie, right? Let me just confirm that. Okay, translation. What do you say? Yeah, tie. Bind. Okay, I think that means to tie. Okay, so you bind his two hands to the beam. Heilach veilach on either side of the beam. Okay, fine. V'chazan hakneses oiches bebegodov, and the kind of guy in charge of hitting him, he grabs him by his clothes, his garments. Niframu. They get sort of torn in different ways. Achu megales liboy, until his heart is revealed. Ve'evan isuna me'achorv, and there is a stone, kilu like a step stool, like a stone behind the guy who's going to get whacked. Chazan knesses omer alav, and the whacker stands on the stone. It's the whacking stone. V'ritzu biyado, and the whacker has got a strap, shel egel, and the strap is made out of calf. Kfula, and it's doubled over. Echad l'shnayim v'shnayim la'arba, so it's folded to two and to four. V'shtei ritzuis shtel chomer, olis v'yordos by, and there's two straps of donkey, but there's a gears like a sort of donkey, because in the Gemara it says it's made out of donkey, so we don't want to reveal it too soon. But anyways, there's this strap of donkey that's like woven in between the straps of calf. That's nice. Yoda tefach, the handle is, I guess, a tefach long. V'rochba tefach, and the width is a tefach. I think that's a reference to the width of the strap, I think, is a tefach. V'rosha magas al pi kreisoi, and the tip of the whacker, the tip of the whip, I guess, the tip of the whip reaches the stomach of the guy getting whacked. So I think there's two ways to understand that. One is that like if the whacker is facing the stomach, so it reaches until the stomach. The other way is like it goes across his back until it wraps around to his stomach. Umake also shlish milfanav v'shtei yodos me'acharav, and the whacker whacks the guy getting whacked, two parts on his back and one part on his front. Ve'eno make also lo omed v'lo yoshev ele muta, and the guy getting whacked is neither standing nor sitting. He's leaning right on this pillar that his hands are tied to. Shenemar v'pilo ashofet, that the judge knocks him down, I guess. He's not quite standing. Ve'amake make biyodoi achas b'chol koichoi, and the whacker whacks him with one hand as hard as he can. Ve'akore kore, and there's a guy there who's reading psukim, and he says, Im loy sishmer laseis v'gemer, and he reads out psukim, if you don't guard to do what you're supposed to do, v'hifla Hashemes makes choves makes v'gemer, so then you're going to get in big trouble, you're going to get whacked. After the reader completes reading the verses, he starts over again. Skip to the end of the next line. V'meis tachas yodoi potter, and if the guy getting whacked dies, well, the whacker is potter. He's the shliach bezdin. They had evaluated him. They said, he can handle this amount, and if in the course of whacking, the guy getting whacked goes to whack wood, So then the whacker is potter. Osif lo od ritzua achas v'meis hariz and goyla al yodoi. If the whacker accidentally gives an extra whack, and it's one whack too many, and the guy getting whacked dies and goes to whackwood, well then the whacker will be he's killed b'shogeg, and he's got to go to your miklat. Niskalkel bein berei bein bamoyim potter. If the guy getting whacked soiled himself, he peed in his pants, he was so frightened, or even he defecated himself, so then he's potter. He would say, okay, he's been through enough, he's been demeaned enough, and he goes home. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ish berei va'isha bamoyim. Rabbi Yehuda says that for a boy he would only be dismissed if he defecated on himself. Peeing on himself is not enough, but for a girl, peeing on herself would be enough to allow her to be released. And I don't know, skip the next three words apparently. Omer of Sheshes, says the Gemara, says of Sheshes, Mishum Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, from Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Minayin l'ritzua she'ishal egel. How do we know that the strap is of calf leather? Tichsiv, as the puzzle says, Arboyim yakenu. Okay, the puzzle talks about Makos. V'samach lein, it then says before or afterwards. The next pasuk is Leisachsum shor bedisho, and don't muzzle an ox while it's threshing. So we have an ox right next to whacking. So whacking is with an ox product, a calf hide leather. I don't know if you have a Yavama, right? So Geva is married to, or I guess Itamar is married to Sore, and then Itamar dies, and his brother Geva is interested in doing Yibum with Sore, but Geva is a Mukashrin. Sore doesn't want to do Yibum with Geva, so we don't force her to. So how so? So, oh yeah, I know I asked the other day about the... right. Well, I asked if we should keep the Geva and Itamar and those people, right? But I'm not yet in Shavuos yet, so this is still the Geva Itamar Masechta. So, and I already started learning Masechta Shavuos today. So far, so interesting. Anyways, I digress. So she'ein chosmin osa. We don't sort of like lachasom, to like muzzle her. We don't say, hey, quiet, don't protest. No, rather we allow her to say, I don't want to marry Geva. Tichsiv, as the Bible says, osachsum sharbedisho, don't muzzle a cow when it's threshing. V'samach le kiyeshvu achim yachdav v'gomer, and juxtaposed to that is the parsha of Yibum. So just like we don't muzzle a cow, we also don't muzzle Sarah if she doesn't want to marry Geva because he's a mukashrin. Ve'amr of Sheshes mishum Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah kol ha'mevazeh samay adam, somebody who desecrates Chol HaMoed. He doesn't act appropriately on Chol HaMoed. Ki'ilu oived avoida zara. It's as if he's worshipping the Getchkis. Tichstiv, as the pasuk says, Elohim asecha loisai seloch, don't make Getchkis. V'samich lei es chagamatzis tishmor, and juxtaposed to guard chagamatzis, and the Rivan mentions that, and it talks about in Chagiga that it's not talking about Yom Tif, it's talking about Chol HaMoed, that you have to guard Chol HaMoed, otherwise it's like you're worshipping the Getchkis. Remember of Sheshes Mishum Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah kol Masaper Loshin Hore, anybody who speaks Loshin Hore, V'chol Makabel Loshin Hore, anybody who receives Loshin Hore, V'chol made Edus Sheker, anybody who testifies a false testimony. Okay, that's kind of like a tie-in to Shavuos Edus a shtickle. Although, maybe it's a little different. Anyways, Roy lashlicho leklavim, you got to throw him to the dogs, or it's fit to throw him to the dogs. Tichsiv lakelev tashlichu, and also throw it to the dogs. V'samach lei, and it says right before that, what's it, Vav, Zayin, right after that, v'samach lei loisisa shema shav. Don't say false things. V'kribe namilo sasi also don't kind of so lo tisa, don't accept them, but also don't give them. Okay. There were two straps that were sewn through the calf straps, Tana shel chomer. So in the Bible said that those straps were donkey leather straps. Kedarish haugli loya, other Rav Chizda, like the certain Galilean darshan before Rav Chizda, yada shor koneu, right? Is that where am I? I think yada shor koneu vechamor evus balav Yisrael lo yada ami lo isbonan. I think that's from the Haftarah on oh wait, where is it from? Yeshaya. This is probably Shabbos Chazon. So Yada Shor Kaneu, that the ox knows is owner, v'chamer evus bailov, and the donkey knows the trough of his owner, but Yisrael lo yada v'gomer, but the Yidden don't recognize the Rebbeinu Shalom. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Yov Misha Makir Evus Bailov v'Yifra Misha Eino Makir Evus Bailov. That the one who does recognize the trough of his owner, i.e. the donkey, let him come and pay back from he who doesn't recognize the trough of his owner, the Rebbeinu Shalom. Right. This Shlamazel, we're gonna whip him with donkey leather. Okay. Yada tefach v'chulei, the handle was a tefach. Omer Abai says, Abai shmamino kochad v'chad lifum gabe of dinalei. So we had said that the whip needs to reach the stomach of the guy getting whacked. So getting whacked. So says Abai. So we see that for each whacky, each person getting whacked, you need kochad v'chad lefum gabi of dinalei. So we make a bespoke whacker, make a bespoke whip for the wacky. Omar le Ravit. Ravit says tabai, but imkein nofish lu ritzu is tuva. Then there's going to be tons and tons of whips. So Ella Omar Ravit says Rava avkisa islay. There was an adjustable knot. Kiboy miktor bay, kiboy mirapa bay, but. Right, and if necessary, they would tighten the knot to, I guess, make it like shorter or something, or they would loosen it to make it like longer, I guess. Malkin Eise v'chulei. Okay, Menani Milei Amar Avuna the Amar Kra v'pila shovet v'kar lefan of. Okay, right. So they hit him two parts on his back and one part on his front. So Menani Milei, how do we know this? Amar Kahano to Kra, the puzzle says v'pilo ashofet v'kar lefan of. Kidei Risha also b'mispar. So it's lefan of Kidei Risha also, right? So Risha achas mi lefan of one dose of Risha in front. Shtei Rishayos me'achar, that b'mispar, right, is a reference to two parts in his back. And Malkin Eisei v'gemer v'chulei. What was he talking about? Okay, so Amar of Chizda, Amar of Rabbi Yochanan, Minayin l'ritzur shi muchpeles. So this is of Chizda, Rabbi Yochanan. How do we know that the strap is like folded over? Right, we said into 2, into 4. Shnemar v'pilo, and v'pilo is like v'hich pilo, to double it over, to fold it over. V'ami ba'ilei legufe, but I thought we needed that to teach that you gotta knock the guy over, meaning that he's not standing straight, he's leaning over. Imkein lichtov kar yateyu. Then the pasuk could just say lean him over. My yipilo, why is it saying yipilo? Shma min atarte, it's teaching both. It's saying yes, that we lean him over, but also we double the strap, that we fold it over. Hamake make biyodoi tanarbanan ein my midin chazonin ela chasere keach v'yisere mado. So the whackers are people that are chasere koach. They're not the brightest in the bunch. Wait, what? No, fakir. Ela chasere korach. They're weaklings, v'yisere mada, and they're very bright. They're very smart weaklings. Rabbi Yudah says, you can even have the ones that aren't the brightest in the bunch, and very, very strong. Those could be the whackers. Rava Kavos Rabbi Yehuda Mistavis says Rava, it makes sense like Rabbi Yehuda that they aren't the brightest in the bunch. Tichsiv Lo Yosef Ben Yosef, because the pasuk says that the pasuk needs to say Lo Yosef Ben Yosef. Don't add any more. If you evaluate that he can only handle 18, only give him 18, no more than that. So Yomad B'Shlama Chaser Imada, I understand if we're saying that they aren't the brightest in the bunch. Well, I feel like I'm missing a word there. The brightest something in the bunch. Dennis, what is it? The brightest something in the bunch. I don't know. Or anybody else. So I understand why you'd have to warn them if they aren't the brightest in the bunch. But if you say if you say that they're little geniuses, so then why would you have to warn them? I mean, if they are the brightest in the bunch, so if you say give them 18, so they'll only give them 18, they won't give 19. But the rabbis counter and they say no, fakir, it only makes sense to give guidelines to people who are going to understand and accept and implement the guidelines. People who are not the brightest in the bunch aren't going to know what to do or how to apply the guidelines, so what's the point? So, of course, we're talking about the brightest in the bunch. Tana, Kishu Magbia b'shtei yadav. When he lifts up the whacker, so he lifts up the whacker with both hands. B'shtei yadav v'chshu make, and when he strikes, make b'yadav achos, he strikes with one hand. Ki'echi delesa midida, so that it will mamish come right with his one hand. It will mamish get all of his might into that whack. I'm on a post-Pesach salad diet. I'm only really what's today? I'm on day 2, really. I'm really like on day 2, kind of day 3, but of like really just like only salad. I'm on like day 2, really. So like I think my head is starting to be like, no, what are you doing to me? I need more energy. So like my head is like a little bit whacked. Oh, no pun intended. So yeah, my head's like a little bit all over the place because it's like, oh no, I need more stuff. But like, I'm like, no, you're not getting more stuff. You ate too much over the past like way too long. So yeah, I'm just trying to like do a salad thing right now. And water and coffee. Let's go weiter. And the reader reads verses. Tanu Rabbanan the rabbis taught Hagadol Shabdayonin. So the greatest of the judges, Korei, he does the reading. Hasheni Mone, the second one counts, right? Which one we're up to. Vashlishi Omer, and the third says Akeu, says hit. Bisman she make meruba, if there are lots of makis, like a full 39. So Mayrich, so then the reader kind of reads slower, right, to stretch out the verses. Bisman shemake mu'etes, if it's just like, let's say 3 whacks, so then mekatzer, so then he'll say the verses quicker. But I thought in our Mishnah we said once you're done reading, you just go back to the beginning. So why are we trying to like spread it out to match the number of whacks? So mitzvah letzamtzim. Look, ideally you should match the verses to the whacks, right? So if it's 39, a full 39, so then read the verses slower so at the end at the same time. If it's just 3, so then read them faster. But if you eat low, tzimtzim, but if you didn't get it just right, and let's say you finished early, well then, prematurely, so then choser letchilas hamikos, so then start over. Tanarban the rabbi start make rabba in the ela make rabba, right? So if we says right, it says was it pen Yosef laakoso make rabba or something. V'nikla achicha leinecha. Where's that? Oh, it's the first pasuk. Abraham yakenu lo Yosef pen Yosef laakoso alele make rabba v'nikla achicha leinecha. Right? Don't add an extra big hit. How do we know that you can't even add a little hit? Tamalomer lo Yosef, it says, well, don't add anything. Imkain matamalomer makaraba, then why does it say a big hit? Limed al arishonis shein makaraba, to teach about the ones that he's supposed to receive, that those are big hits. Niskalkal vechule, so if the fellow soiled himself, he went to the bathroom. He was so nervous. Tana Rabbana the Rabbi said, "Echad ish ve'echad isha Birei velo b'hamoim divrei Meir. Meir's opinion is that both for boys and for girls, they are only off the hook if they defecate out of fear. Peeing is not enough. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, ha'ish birei, a man must defecate to be dismissed. Va'isha b'hamoim, but a woman even peeing would be enough for her to be released. Whereas the rabbis say, whether boys, whether girls, whether they defecate, whether they pee out of fear, they are released. But we learn in a brisa, how could it be that Rabbi Yehuda says that for boys it must be defecation, but Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, echad ha'ish ve'echad ha'isha birei, that both boys and girls are need defecation, right? So, meaning Rabbi Yehuda had said that a boy must defecate, whereas a girl can even pee. But now we seem to be saying that both boys and girls require defecation. So, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak shneim shavin birei. No, we're saying that they're both equal in defecation, both for boys and for girls. If they defecate out of fear, they are released. That's what the Brisa is saying. In terms of peeing, that's reserved for girls. Amar Shmuel says Shmuel, kaftu v'rotzmi bezdin. Says Shmuel, if they tied him up and he managed to run away from Bezdin, potter. So he's potter because he's already been demeaned enough that he was like brought to Bezdin and tied up and he ran away out of fear. So he's like, all right, fine, go home. Meizvei, we have a contradiction. Kala, that we had that Kala, if he soiled himself, Bain Barishona, whether it was when the whacker lifted up his hand the first time, so like he hasn't even been whacked yet. Bain Bashnira, whether it's when the whacker lifts his hand up the second time, so he's already been whacked. Potrin also, either way, is potter if he soils himself. Nifsika Ritzua Bashnira Potrin also, Rishona and Potrin also. If the whip breaks, I guess. So if it's the second time the whacker lifts up his hand, he's already been hit. So then Potrin also. So then he is potter if the whip breaks. Barishona, but if it's the first time he lifts up his hand, to whack, he hasn't been whacked yet, ain't potinoso, then he's not potter. Now, amai lave kirutz, but why should he not be potter? Can't we just treat it as if he ran away? No, we can't treat it because when he runs away, he actually runs away. Here he didn't run away. Okay, Tanabana the Rabbi taught, Amdu lichsha yilke kala pochin oso. If they evaluated that, look, if we whip him, if we give him even one hit, he's going to soil himself. So then we say, okay, fine. We're not going to. You're potter. L'chshayetzimi bezdin kala malkanosu. But if they say no, he can endure all the malchus. Maybe when he leaves bezdin afterwards, maybe he'll soil himself. Well, then we hit him because he's not gonna. It's not, I guess, directly connected to the hitting. Not only that, elafilu kala batchila. Now, even if he soiled himself initially before it even started, Malkin also, we do give him makis. Shneimar v'yiko v'gomer v'nikla v'lo she'nilka kvar bebezin. We're saying v'nikla v'achicha necha. We don't want a scenario where you hit the guy and then he soils himself. But if he soils himself beforehand, that's not a big deal. We can still hit him. Now, this is in contradiction to what we said a minute ago, that if he soils himself beforehand, he would go free. But okay, all right. Apparently, it contradicts. Okay. Okay. Where am I? 1 second. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now we get up to the final Mishnah of Masechta Makos. Says the Mishnah, Kol chayve kresis shelaku niftru yidei kresasim. Anybody who's chayiv kares, who got malchus, so they're no longer chayiv kares. Shenemar, as the Apostle says, v'nikla achicha leinecha. Kishelaka, once a person gets makis, hareu kachicha, he's now your brother, he's been forgiven. Divrei Reb Chananya ben Gamliel, that's the opinion of Reb Chananya ben Gamliel. From Reb Chananya ben Gamliel, ma im over avera achas notel nafsho alel. Says Reb Chananya ben Gamliel, look, kavachomer, if when a person does an avera, he can lose his life for it, well then certainly ausa mitzvah achas, a person who does a mitzvah, halachas kama v'chama, shetinosin lo nafsho, certainly then he should get his life. Reb Shimon Omer says, Reb Shimon Mimekomo Hulamed says, Reb Shimon, you don't need the Kavachomer. You can just learn it off from the Psukim. Shenemar V'nechusa Nefashos Osos V'Gomer. That the pasuk says by Arayis that anybody who does Arayis is going to get Karis V'Omer. But right before the parsha of Arayis, it says Asher Yaisa Osam Ha'odam V'Chaybim, that a person who does mitzvahs is going to live from the mitzvahs. That anybody who even just sits there and doesn't do any averis, he refrains from doing the arayis, he doesn't do any averis, nosin lo socher kosa mitzvah, we give him reward as if he does mitzvahs, even for not doing anything. Just sit back and don't do arayis, you get reward as though you did mitzvahs. Reb Shimon bar Rebbe, Omer says, Shimon bar Rebbe, Areu, Omer, the pasuk says, Rak chazak levilti echol adam, be strong, do not eat blood. Ki adam wa nefesh v'gomer, because the blood is the soul. Ma im adam shenafshe shel adam kotzim imenu aperish menu mekabel socher. If blood, that a person is disgusted by blood, and yet don't eat blood, okay fine, I won't eat blood, that's easy enough, and you can get schar just like that. So then gezel v'arayis shenafshe shel adam misaveloin. Well then theft and arayis, inappropriate relationships, that a person lusts for them, he desires them. U'mechamadton haporish me'en alachas kama ve'chama. Certainly then, if you stay away from gezel, arayis, things that you have a taiva for, sheyizke loy, you're going to merit for yourself. V'ledorayisav v'ledoris ad safe kel aderis, for himself, for his next generations and their next generations, for all generations, will be the merit for refraining, for resisting the taiva of gezel and arayis. Chevre, this next line is very, very famous. If ever, basically anybody has ever been to shul, you've probably heard this line. Rab Chananya ben Akasha oimer rotza kadosh baruch hu lezakes is Yisrael lefichoch hir bolem teru mitzvah shenemar Hashem chofetz l'man tzidka agdil teru v'yadir kadosh derabon. Right? That's always followed by a kadosh derabon, and with that we end the Mishnayos of Masechta Makos. So it says Rab Chananya ben Akasha that the Rotza HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakes is Yisrael. The Rebbeinu Shalom wanted to bring merit to the Yidden, the Fichach, and therefore here b'olem Teiru mitzvahs. That is why the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us the Torah and mitzvahs. Shenemar Hashem Chofetz L'man Tzidkoi, that the Rebbeinu Shalom desires for the righteousness, I guess, of the Yidden. Yagdil Teiru v'Yadir, and therefore he makes a lot of Torah and mitzvahs and stuff. Says the Gemara, Reb Yechanan Chalukin Olav Chaverav al Reb Chananya ben Gamliel. Now, Reb Chananya ben Gamliel had said that if a person is chayiv koris, but he gets makis, so then he's no longer chayiv koris, right? What was it? He says, so go nifteri de kresosim, they're no longer chayiv koris. Omer Rav Bar Hava, Ami Beirav, it says Rav Bar Rav, the Sefer the Besmesh Shavav, Taninon, we learn in a Mishnah, Ein ben Shabbos liyom HaKippurim elo shezez done be the Adam v'zez done be a karis. That the only difference between Shabbos and Yom Kippur is that Shabbos is karis. If there's no warning or anything, otherwise it's skila. But without a warning, it's karis. And without witnesses, it's karis. And Yom Kippur is wait, what? No. Scratch that. Scratch that. L'shezez don't be the Adam. Shabbos is punishable by people, right? Skila. Whereas v'zez don't be karis. Whereas Yom Kippur is a chiyuv karis. There's no misa be the Adam. It's only karis. V'im isa. Now, if what Rab Chananya ben Gamliel says is true, that somebody who's chayiv karis you can give makis to, so then for somebody who is mechal Yom Kippur who's chayiv karis you can just give him makis, so that's also bidei adam. Idi bidei adam, who both Shabbos and Yom Kippur are bidei adam. Shabbos is skila, Yom Kippur we're saying would be makis. So Rav Nachman says Rav Nachman Amani Rab Yitzchaki. Well, this Mishnah is the opinion, right? This Mishnah that says that Yom Kippur is specifically kares is the opinion of Rabbi Yitzchak that we saw the other day. Domer Malkis b'chayve kreisis leko. That Rabbi Yitzchak says that when you chayiv kares, you cannot get, there's no makis. And that is why the Mishnah is saying that Yom Kippur is davka kares, and there's no, it's not b'di'adam. The Tanya Rabbi Yitzchak Omer, that Rabbi Yitzchak had said chayve kreisis b'chal hayu, that all, that by arayis, the default punishment was already kares. V'lo miyotzes kares ba'achoso. So then why does the Torah specifically say by your sister you chayiv kares? Of course you chayiv kares. By default you chayiv kares for all arayis. Ladunu b'kares v'malkus to say that by when you chayiv kares you davka chayiv kares, you're not chayiv malkus. Rav Ashi Omer says, Rav Ashi filutem rabbanon, you can even say it's according to the rabbis who argue with Rabbi Yitzchak and say ze'ikr zdono b'dei adam, ze'ikr zdono b'dei shamayim. That you could say, look, no, you can say that by kares you can also get makis. The thing is that on Shabbos the main punishment, the primary punishment for Shabbos is skila, whereas the primary punishment for Yom Kippur is kares, it is not makis. But technically you could still argue that you can get makis when you chayiv kares. Well, my brain is like, woo, mamish needs food. That's good. That's good. To me, it feels like the diet's working, right? It's just like you gotta like take control over it and be like, yo, you're not getting food. Get used to it. Things have changed. It's not like the old show in town. It's a new sheriff in town. Let's go weiter. Omer Vada Bar Hava, Omer Rab. Halacha Rav Chanani ben Gamliel says, Rav Bar Hava Amar Rav, that the halacha is like Rav Chanani ben Gamliel Amar Rav Chanani ben Gamliel, that if you get makis, then you no longer chayiv kares. Amar Rav Yosef. So Rav Yosef says, Man solik le'ela ve'asa ve'amar. Rav Yosef says, wait, how can Rav Bar Hava say that so confidently? Meaning, what's he saying? He's saying the halacha is like Rav Chanani ben Gamliel, that when somebody's chayiv kares and he gets makis, he's no longer chayiv kares. How does he know? What, did he go to Shemayim and say, hey Hashem, this guy just died. Did he die because he was chayiv kares, or did he die because because he was old age? How does he know that when a person's chayiv kares, he's no longer chayiv kares when he gets makis? I mean, how are you going to prove that? So Amalei Abai says to Rav Yosef, Elohada Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, but that which Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, Shloisha dvarim asu bezdin shel mata, veskimu bezdin shel maila. There were three things that Bezdin Shalmata, Bezdin here on this world, did, and in Shamayim they concurred. Mansalak Leilev also Omar, and Abai says there too. How does Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi know? What, did he go up to Shamayim and say, hey, do you concur with what Bezdin here said? So Ella, Kroi Kadashinon. Rather, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi darshan psukim from which he can understand that Bezdin Shalmaila concurred. So here also by getting makis when you chayiv kares, cry kadashin, we darshan the pasuk that it said v'nikla achicha beinecha, that once a person gets makis, he's not your brother, he's no longer chayiv kares. Gufam Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi had said shloisha dvarim asu bezdin shalmata v'skimu bezdin shalmaila al yodam, that there were three things that bezdin shalmata did and bezdin shalmaila concurred. Here they are. Eluin, these are them. Mikra Megillah. Reading the Megillah on Purim. Bezdin decided we're going to read Megillah on Purim, and the Bezdin Shomayla concurred. V'shelas Shalom Bashem, and greeting one's friend and saying God's name when doing so. V'avos Meiser, and bringing Meiser to the Beis Hamikdash. This is a reference to the Rivan gives three examples of what this means. It's talking about when Ezra, it was Oile to Eretz Yisrael, but the Levim stayed in Bavel. This is a Gemara from the Yevomis, and I think it came up somewhere else too. And maybe even in, I don't remember where it came up the second time. But anyways, and the Levim stayed in Bavel, so as a punishment, he says, okay, the Meister is going to the Kohanim now, and he said, everybody bring the Meister to the Beis Hamikdash so we can control who gets it. And this also happened with Chizkiyahu, and also, because they were doing Avodah Zarah, and also Chizkiyahu said to also separate Trumas and Meisters from like fruits and stuff. So, okay. Mikra Megillah, how do we know that by Mikra Megillah, Bezdin Shamayla concurred? Dichsiv, Kimu v'kiblu ha-Yehudim. Kimu l'mayla, they were mekayim l'mayla, masha kiblu l'mata, what they accepted upon themselves down below l'mata. V'sheila sholim, dichsiv, vine Boaz bo mi Bethlehem, that Boaz was coming from Bethlehem, from Bethlehem, vayomer lakartzim Hashem imochem, that he said to the harvesters, God is with you. Va'omer Hashem imcha giborcha, and also says by Gidon, that God is with you, man of valor, mighty one of valor. My ve'omer, why do we need the second pasuk? V'chitem Boaz hu da'avid midaite mishmai loy askim al yoda. Well, just in case you were inclined to say, well, yeah, sure, Boaz said Hashem imochem, but maybe in the heaven they did not concur. Tashma ve'omer Hashem imcha gibor chayil. I think it was the angel says to Gidon, God is with you, gibor chayil, to say like, yeah, that's a good way to greet someone. Havas meiser, I don't even know that bringing the meiser to the temple was the right thing. It says in Malachi, bring all your meiser to the Beis HaOtzer and the Beis HaMikdash. V'yiterev bevesi, there will be lots of stuff in my house. V'chanuni no bozois Amar Hashem tzvokis im lo eftach lochem v'sarubes hashamayim v'arikesi lochem brocha ad b'lidai. And if you do this, I will open up the windows of heavens and I will give you so much blessing. My ad b'lidai, what does it mean ad b'lidai? Amar till your lips will get worn out by saying die, it's enough. That's how amazing, that's how much blessing there's going to be. Amar B'Elazar begimel mekomis ofia ruach hakodesh. In 3 instances, ruach hakodesh, a bas kol, sort of publicly came out from heaven. Bebeis dino shel Shem, in the court of shame. Bebeis dino shel Shmuel Aramati, and in the bezin of Shmuel. Bebeis dino shel Shloimo, and in the bezin of Shloimo. Beis dino shel Shem dichsiv vayaker Yehuda vayomer tzodka mimeni. That when Judah saw the signs from Tamar, he says, tzodka mimeni, yes, she's right there from me. V'no yada, how did Yehuda know that she was necessarily pregnant from him though? Dilma ki echi da azal iu legaba, azal nami inashachrina legaba. Just like he slept with her, for all he knew, she was this harlot, and maybe somebody else slept with her too. I mean, if she did it with him, she could have done it with others. So how do you know that it was from him? Yotzos baskol v'omra, a heavenly voice emanated v'omra and said, "Mimeni yotzu kvushim," that these hidden ones, my plans that the kings should come from Yehuda and Tamar, it came from me, says the baskol. Bevezdinoi shel Shmuel. What's the example from the court of Shmuel? The Chsiv Zabaz says, "Hineni anu vi neged Hashem v'neged Mishicho." Answer me before God and before His anointed one, before Shaul. This is what Shmuel says. As shormi lakachti, did I take anybody's ox? Vayomelo ashaktanu v'lo ratzosanu, and they said, no, you never took anything from us. You never took advantage of us. Vayomer eid Hashem ve'ed Mishicho, and Shmuel says, God is a witness, and His anointed one is a witness. Kilo matzosim b'me'uma, that you haven't found anything against me. Vayomer eid, and he said, witness. Vayomer mi vayile. What does it mean? Vayomer, he said. They said, it should be they said. So Yotzos baskol ve'omra ani eid badavar zeh. A heavenly voice emanated and said, I am a witness on this matter. Bebeis dino shel Shloimo, and in the bezin of Shloimo, it says by the famous story, Vayana melech vayomer tnu lo es hayelet achai v'ameis lo t'misu. Of course, the 2 women were fighting over the baby, and he says, cut it in half, and then one of them says, no, give it to the other one, and Shlomo says, aha, that is the one who is the real mother. He imo, she is the mother. Mino yada, how did he in fact know that she is actually the mother? Maybe she was just being tricky. Maybe she's saying, okay, fine, no, let her have it, as if she, as if pretending to be the real mother. So Yotzes Baskol v'Amra, a heavenly voice came out and said, he imo, she is the mother. Amar Rava says, Rava mimai. But Rava says, how are you so convinced? Dilma Yehuda, maybe when it came to Yehuda, came the Choshev Yarche v'Yomi v'Isrami, that since he did the calculations, he said, look, Ataka makes sense. That based on when I had beer with her, it does make sense that this would be that child. Because after all, that which we see, we can establish. That which we don't see, we don't establish. So maybe she was sleeping with other people. We don't know. But what we do know, right? Yehuda says, look, I know that I slept with her, and she's now pregnant. So, it makes sense. Shmonami. Kula Yisrael Karilu B'Lashon Yuchide. Also by Shmuel, you could refer to all of the Yidden in a singular dichsiv. For example, as it says, Yisrael Nosha B'Hashem, Israel saved, singular, from God. So it could be that that when it says Vayomer Ed, it could be a reference to Am Yisrael. And Shlomo Nami, also by Shlomo Midaha Ka Merachemta V'Alo Ka Merachemta. And Shmuel and by Shlomo, maybe it was simply logical from the fact that this woman says, no, don't kill the baby, you could rather you give it to the other one. Maybe that taka is the logic to say that she is the actual mother. El Gemara, rather it's tradition that she became pregnant from Tamar. Rather, it's from tradition that we know that the bas kol, meaning it's not necessary. We can't prove that the bas kol from the ways that we tried to prove it, but it's a tradition that the bas kol came out and supported in these scenarios. That was Chav Gimel of Masechta Makos. Tomorrow we will reconvene for the final daf Chav Daled of Masechta Makos. Peace out.